Hey guys, Avish here, and in this video I'll be demonstrating to you on how to set up a mandatory profile in Windows Server 2008. Now, a mandatory profile is similar to a roaming profile, whereas everything is stored remotely on the server, right? However, a mandatory profile, whenever the user logs on using that profile, whatever changes he or she does to that profile, any sort of modifications, is not saved back to the server. It's not overwritten or anything in any way, right? That profile itself remains fixed as is from the time it was created, or however the administrator configures it to be, right? So in order to do this, I'll first need to create a user profile in Active Directory and give it administrative rights. So let me just start this up here. Right, so go into new user. I'm just going to name it mandatory for this demonstration. Right, next. Your password never expires. Right, good. That's finished there. Right. Next, we'll need to have a shared folder, right? And I have the roaming profiles folder already here that is shared, so I'm just going to use that. So sharing, I'm just going to copy this path. Right. Nice. Now I'm going to configure some properties within this profile. So I right click on mandatory properties. Right. Now I can just add this to administrator. Right. Now I'm going to set the path of this profile, which would be the path to the roaming folder. Right. And just name it folder mandatory. Right. Apply that. Okay. Nice. So that is set. Next, I'll have to go on to a client machine, or in this case my Windows 7 virtual machine, where I would log on as that mandatory user, so that the content of that profile will be stored to the contents of the roaming folder in the server, right? So let me just start up my Windows 7 VM. Alright, so let me now log in mandatory. Right, so we're starting up there. Right. Okay, so we are on the desktop of our mandatory profile. Now I would want to add some personalizing to it, right? So let me just summarize this. What can I? Yeah, I'll leave it as that, right? I know desktop background, or window color. Let's just set this. Let's leave that screen. Alright, so once I log off this profile, whatever configurations and settings were done here would be now, well, saved to the roaming folder in Windows Server 2008. Right, so let me just log this off. Alright, nice. So let me go back to Windows 2008 server just to verify that the contents have been saved to. Right, nice. So here we have the mandatory v2 folder being created in this roaming profile. Now I will have to give myself ownership. So I'll go on security, right, advanced, right, owner, edit, give myself full ownership. Nice. Next, I want to add permissions to this folder, right? So I'll edit, I'll add domain admins, give them full control. Okay, I'll also add authenticated users, and just for this tutorial only, give them full control. Right, of course you can select whichever option you want, right, with it in this, like whichever access privilege you want the authenticated users to have, whether it be read only or to read and write. So in this case I just give them all. Right, so also I want to just make sure that everything is not inherited, so I'll just put that. Nice, good. So everything there is set for that. Right, cool. right? And before I go on as well, I want to make sure that all folders, well, we can see all hidden files. So I'm going to show hidden files here, and I'm going to uncheck hide protected operating system files and hide extensions for known file types. Select apply, right? Next, I'm going to open up my mandatory v2 folder, right? Listen to this. Here you see this file called ntuser.dat. Now this is the key file when creating a mandatory profile, as there's some editing to be done to this particular file in the registry that will make this function as a mandatory profile, right? So what I'm going to do now is enter my, well, in run in the start menu, regedit, whatever it's pronounced, right? And I am going to load the hive. Well, let me see if it's right. So we highlight the HK local machine and we load hive, right? So now I will select the NT that user, double click on it. Now we're going to give this its own key name, so mandatory, I'll just name it as that. Select OK, and when you expand this, you will see mandatory pops up here. Now I'm going to right click on mandatory and select permissions, right? Now here is where I would edit some permissions here to govern this particular folder, right? So I will just have advanced, click advanced, right? And here I'm going to add domain users, right? Give them full control. Also, I will add authenticated users, right? And I'll also give them full control, only for this tutorial only, right? So okay, right, nice. Let me just replace all inheritable permissions there. Apply, right? Okay, cool. So all that is in check there. So I'll select OK, right? Nice. And now I will unload the hive. Let me make sure it's unloaded. Access denied. Oh, right. It's my mistake there. Right, so it's good there. Right. Now I will go to rename this ntuser.dat and give it the extension man. Right. Ignore the warning. Select yes. Select yes. And there we go. Right, this has been changed. Next, I want to proceed to delete these other files while keeping the ntuser.ini and the ntuser.man. So delete those 5 files there. Nice. So now that that has been set up, I will now proceed to test this out on my Windows 7 client, right, where I will edit some changes, make it a little more personalized, I guess, and once I log off, you should see that those changes have been, well, they have not been saved. It will revert to its original state of when I first logged in. Right, so let me now proceed to logging on. Okay, so let me, alright. So here we see everything is loaded. So now I will go forth and let's see, change up a theme. Probably create some new test document. Name it that. Here I will select auto arrange icons. Alright, nice. So once I log off from this profile and I log back on, everything should be back the way it was once I first logged in. So alright, and there we go. Right, so this pretty much is how this mandatory profile works, and it also shows that this profile has been correctly configured, right? And this basically concludes our little demonstration here about mandatory profiles and how to set it up in Windows 2008, right? I hope this was helpful. Thank you for viewing. Bye bye.